Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hello.
So we are gathered in somewhat of an even more untraditional space than we usually are. Being here quarantined in my house, though I am doing totally fine, no symptoms whatsoever, but just an abundance of caution. Being younger, I could spread this without having any symptoms. I had to be very careful. And it's interesting being in my home. I'm in my study where normally I learn, but I don't pray. I'm also wearing, I haven't been to the synagogue, so I had to fish out a tallis from somewhere. This is actually my bar mitzvah tallis. And I just want to welcome everybody tonight. This is really our first full week for many of us of just being indoors, of staying away from people, of keeping safe. And for some of us, this was a respite from the outside world. And for some of us, this was really isolating and difficult and alienating. And whatever this was for you, I hope that being together in community right now can feel like a little bit of a respite. We've created a space which is a little different than the normal Zoom space. We're presenters rather than being on a Zoom call with everybody, so that we don't have to constantly be telling people to mute or unmute. But what it means is that you can't necessarily see or talk to one another. Feel free to use the chat function if you want to say hello, to go on to Facebook and say hello to one another, or to log on to our YouTube, which we're simulcasting on, to chat with one another and wish one another Shabbat Shalom. I want to say also that you're going to notice that we're going to be muting ourselves from time to time. One of the challenges of Zoom is that we can't sing along with one another. So rather than me staring at a screen, you're going to see me singing along, but so that you just hear one clear voice, I'm going to often be muted. So you can follow along either if you have a prayer book in front of you or if you've got a prayer book on your computer. And if you've got the volume that we have sent out on our computer, I want to say a few things. The first is that we're going to be calling 2 page numbers. One page number corresponding directly to the black page numbers or to the page numbers in the book. The second page number is on the bottom. You're going to notice that there's a bunch of introductory material that has I's and X's in the book. But on a PDF, it's page 1, 2, 3. So fittingly, Jewishly, the pages are 18 pages off. So we'll call 2 page numbers on a big skip. If it's not a big skip, we'll just be calling the page numbers from the book. And so I want to invite everybody to take a little bit of time, either to turn to page 24 in the book or to page 42 in your PDF. And what you're going to find is that we're going to be beginning tonight's service with a prayer that we often begin with. It's a prayer, Shalom Aleichem, where we bless a series of angels that accompany us on our way. But I want to say something really important about this, which is that we often think about these angels as almost being nudniks, right? They follow us home, they see what our house is like, and if our house is wonderful, then they say, may you have another Shabbat just like this. And if we're treating each other badly and we're angry, they say the same thing. May you have another Shabbat just like this. But the idea of a group of angels accompanying us home is incredibly profound. Because how many of us wish that we had an angel on our shoulder right now looking out for us at a time where we're scared, where we don't know what's going to happen? And so let's take that spirit of the angels with us, as together we join on either page 24 in your books or page 42 in your PDFs for Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Ami Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Elyon, הקדוש ברוך הוא ברכוני לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון עליון מי מלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא צאתכם לשלום צאתכם לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון עליון מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך
We're on page either 2 or 20 as we prepare to kindle our Shabbat lights. And so I'm going to light our candles tonight. And as we do, I want us to take in this light, to really feel it with our hearts. One of the things that the Shabbat candles are meant to give us is a sense of oneg, or joy. And so as we light these candles, which turns out I grabbed the wrong matchbook, we are going to together take in that joy. And so we're going to sing a meditative melody as I go and I get some more matches from the other room.
There's a really, really good melody that I wish I could remember the words of right now. Oh, I got it. Let the flame that kindles before me, let my soul burn bright. I hunger for your light. I hunger for your light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We turn in page 5 in our prayer books, or page 23, as we sing, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh bereshit. Ki hu yom tehila lemikraye kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol alamim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim to all of you.
And we turn forward in our prayer books to page 20 or in our PDFs to page 38 for the singing of L'chaim Dodi.
Lecha dodi likirat kala yarara yalala yalalaya b'nei Shabbat nekabela yidai lecha dodi likirat kala yalalaya b'nei Shabbat nekabela Shamor v'zachor medibur echad hishmiyanu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shem u'tiferet belitechila lechadudi Shabbat nekabela yidai lecha dodi likirat kala yalalai b'nei Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekom Rosh mikedem nesucha
Hitoreri.
Up on your feet.
We are on verse number 9.
Boi vishalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzola toch emunei am segula boi chala boi chala lechadoni likrat kala yarara yalala yalala Shabbat nekabela yaida ida ilecha doti likrat kala yalala yalala Shabbat nekabela.
Before we move into Barhu, our call to worship, which is on page 28 in our prayer book or page 46 in our PDFs, I want to say that this has been kind of one of the hardest weeks to do what our task is supposed to be during Kabbalat Shabbat. But I want to really challenge us to do it because it's really important. Although we don't do it here, in many more traditional synagogues, it's customary to do 7 different psalms or 7 different, let's say, liturgical poems, 5 before the L'chadodi prayer and 2 after, symbolizing the days of the week, right? And you're supposed to, as you're going, supposed to think as you do the first one about Sunday and the second one about Monday and the third one about Tuesday. And the truth is, I have to say that when you are confined to your house and very little is actually different day to day, it's quite difficult to feel that you can even say that you can reflect on the difference between Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I feel like I was at summer camp this week where I look back on things that I did in the morning and I can't believe that it was all within the same day. I don't know if it was the same way for you, Cantor.
Totally.
And so I want to really challenge us, not only to be able to reflect back on this past week and try to kind of frame out the way that your week was, but try to live each day a little bit different so that when Shabbat rolls around next week, we can say to ourselves, you know what? When I do reflect on Sunday, like I know that there was something distinct and special. And Monday, there was something distinct and special. And even if the days bleed into one another, allow yourself in living out those days to not let them be too repetitive, but to rather find each day something to be thankful for and something to make them special. So we turn again to page 28 or 46 in your PDF, and we rise once again for the Barhu.
together. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. One more time, join us.
We turn to page 30 in our prayer books, 48 in our PDFs, though we have a special setting of this prayer, that day turns to night and night turns to day. And in fact, although that's the cycle of time, I want to invite us to do that same thing that I just said, allowing day to be distinct from night and night to be distinct from day, so that you don't let your days bleed too much into one another.
So those are the words. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. And you're going to hear at a certain point that I'm going to use some of the text that echoes this same sentiment, but in the Hebrew. And you can do either you like. You can stay on that rolling. You can let it roll you back and forth in amazement. It all happens without any intervention from us at all.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Keep it going.
We move forward in our prayer books to page 32. And one of the things that we are rolling with also is our technology. So if it turns out that we cut out for a second, or it turns out that we get quieter or our voice gets muddled, that's one of the beauty of Wi-Fi. I once heard Louis C.K. say that we, during services at the synagogue, we're grounded. So we don't have to worry about some of the stuff that we are worrying about tonight. Louis C.K. used to talk about the fact that when his kids would get mad that their phones would be too slow, he would say, yeah, you're only upset that it's going all the way up to a satellite and all the way back down. And so you should be happy with everything that you get. So we roll with things tonight as we turn the page, Ahavat Olam.
Yeah. So a few creative words on this. Echoing what the rabbi said earlier about each day when we're in the same place and we don't get out in the world, they can run into each other and seem overwhelming, like we're just going through another set of hours. And our job, not just our job in these moments where we're in this new normal, but in our daily lives, whenever, we have to make the moments count. Ahavat Olam reminds us that we're given life because of love, through love. And it's our job when we lie down and when we rise up to make the most of it, to send love. And so we're going to chant that way. Day and night, show us your way. Teach us to number our days when we lie down, and when we rise up, and when we rise up. Ahavat Olam. Keep it going. Ahavat Olam. Make Yisrael Amcha Avta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limad ita. One more time. Day and night, show us your way. Teach us to number our days when we lie down and when we rise up. Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam. ואהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem emet.
In a moment, we're going to join together on page 40 in the books or page 58 in your PDFs. And we're going to join together in the song of Mi Chamocha, the song of redemption. Now, in a way, redemption is meant to symbolize moving any time from the narrows, from the constricted, from the unfree, to the open, to the wide, and to the free. For those who are stuck at home right now, we understand that redemption comes in many forms. And so as we celebrate the freedom from our people from slavery in Egypt through this song, we also acknowledge that redemption has a lot more to go. In our personal lives right now, redemption maybe means something new to us.
Adonai, join me. כיפדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Turning the page, we're on page 42 or page 60.
So in a moment, you're going to hear the words Lishalom, this beautiful setting of Hashkivenu repeats the words in peace, to peace, with peace, through peace. May we know it as we lie down tonight. Lishalom. Nai, 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 nai. Nai 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 Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom 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 והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים לחיים לשלום 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 נה 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 ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
In a moment, we're going to turn forward in our prayer books to page 155 or page 173 in your PDFs. And you're going to pray silently through the Amidah prayer through page 167 in your prayer books or page 185 in your PDFs. Now, this prayer is our silent prayer, and you can pray either the traditional words on the page or whatever words are in your heart. But I'll tell you that our tradition understands that although the bulk of the prayer service is set melodies and set prayers, there's space for your individual prayers as well. And sometimes at a time of unease where you don't know what to do or what to say, sometimes praying for guidance or strength or courage or whatever you need is incredibly important. And we as skeptical people often don't like to pray. But I want to invite you to take a little bit of time at the end of this, because many of us, even if it's just expressing what's in our hearts but that we've never put to words, that can be itself incredibly healing. And so again, we're on page 155 or page 173, and I'll invite us to rise. Adonai Shefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. And now we've reached a point in our service where we think of those who are ill and who are in need of healing. At this time where the number of people who are sick grows and grows and grows, but also we have people in our hearts and minds who are not suffering from COVID-19, but who rather are stricken with other ailments, diseases, both physical and emotional. We think of them. And so our community now recalls the following names: Ephraim ben Wolf, Beruch Leah, Mimi Jacobs, Joshua Gendel, Ann Rosenberg, Harav Meir Simcha ben Shena, Eileen Smith, Zachariah Yaakov ben Karen, Kiera D'Agostino, Yehudit Devorah Bat Tova Umoshe, Jill Turetsky, Laura Bellamy, Bonnie Horowitz, Laura Ann Romale, Linda Painter-Levine, Charlotte Ganser, Andrea Pinelli, Claude Pomper, Edith Shavat, Minna Seaman, Lila Margolis, Sharon Rosen, Randy Lowe, Miriam Bud Esther, Joanna Jelski-Fusco, Stephen Raitt, Jane Raitt, Lillian Wexler, Ed Lillian Schmidt, Esther Gittel Bat Rivka, Jerry Hoffman, Gabrielle Bat Chava, Tegan Kaiser, Gabe Patnoy, Beryl Le Pinchas Veruchalea, Alexander Roberts, Rosalind Wellner, Irving Berner, David Ben Henu, Elijah Richards, Phyllis Natter, Wolf Leib Ben Pesach Esther, Diane Felder, Stephen Penny, Roberta Sandler Feld, Barbara Lesser, Nachman Zalman Ben Rachalea, Phyllis Shankman, Jean Siegel, Sherry Newworth, Celia Zizel, Paul Leggett, Phil Murphy, Harriet Hainig, and Yonatan Yisrael Ben Rivka. I'll invite us to turn to page 271 in your PDFs or page 253 in your prayer books. And as we join together in the words of Misha Berach, I want to invite each of you, if you want to share names as we are singing this melody that we together will lead, for you to write it either in the comments if you're on YouTube or in chat if you are on Zoom, knowing that you could either write directly to the panelists, which are the cantor and I, or to everyone, or to say the names aloud as we sing our song. And so again, I'll invite us to join together. Misheberach Avotenu Mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha liavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I want to speak a little bit about tonight's Torah portion. We got a double portion, and we're at the very end of the book of Exodus. The portion is called Vayekal Pikudei. And it's a funny portion because people often don't pay that much attention to it. Honestly, we've had a lot of tabernacle leading up to this, called the Mishkan. In Hebrew, the tabernacle or the Mishkan was God's dwelling place on earth. It was meant to be a home for God to dwell in so that God could be close to the people. And so in Parshat Trumah, God gave the instructions for how to build the tabernacle. In Parshat Tetzaveh, that was 3 weeks ago, now 2 weeks ago, God gives all the accoutrements and the clothes that the priest needs to wear, plus the lighting and a lot of other pieces of internally what is supposed to take place in the temple. Then we have a short reprieve last week with the golden calf, and this week we've got this double portion, which is meant to show us about the building of the tabernacle, and then a recount, almost like a receipt of each thing that the people did to reiterate what they did. So by the time we get to the end, we are done, we are sick, we are finished with the tabernacle. But then at the very end of our Torah portion, we are told something about this tent of meeting. That God's presence would occasionally dwell in that tent of meeting. And when God was there, Moses knew that God could not enter, but only when the cloud of God left could Moses fully enter, do sacrifices and talk to God between two cherubim, two angel-like beings that were facing one another above the ark. Now, I want to reflect on this for a moment in light of the world that we live in and compare it to all the material that came before it. Because the truth is, the tabernacle is an incredibly empowering image for the Jewish people. Now, I want us to think about this for a second. God is everywhere, but yet God instructs humanity, namely the Jewish people, to build God a home so God can dwell inside that home. So much does God want to be with the people that God basically says, build me what amounts in the eyes of the rabbis to an in-law suite. So that anytime that I want to come and visit you, I can be close to you, I can love you, I can care about you. And the people do that. And every time that we read about the tabernacle, we understand that we were the people that God wanted to be beside. That we are closer to God than any other being on earth. And that's incredibly powerful. Humans are incredibly important. In fact, in our tradition, there's this kind of dividing line between the angelic and the animal. And humans are constantly walking the two zones. And knowing that we could build a home that God was going to dwell in leads us more toward the heavenly than to the earthly, to the terrestrial, to the animal. Humanity is important. It's like that teaching by Rabbi Simcha Bunam that we're supposed to keep these 2 slips of paper in our pockets. And one of them, which we're supposed to take out when we need them, is the whole world was created for me. The problem is the other paper that we're supposed to keep in our pocket says, I am but dust and ashes. And that is what happens at the end of the portion. Because when we're told that when God is dwelling in the tabernacle, Moses and no one else can actually enter in, it's a reminder that there's a huge distance between us and God. I imagine many of us here have seen the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. This idea that if you see God's face, it's so powerful. It's like touching a power line. Your face, literally, in the mind of Steven Spielberg, melts off. It is so important, says our tradition, that we, although think that we can approach God, know that we can never get fully there. That we are humans, we are but dust and ashes, we are mortal, we are frail, we are fallible. And knowing that, it puts into context the gift that was the ability to dwell with God whenever we wanted to. Now, I bring this up because we as people are constantly walking that line between the whole world was created for me and I am but dust and ashes. Between the tabernacle can bring God into our midst. And when God's actually there, we can come nowhere close. And sometimes we are so full of expectation and pride in our station that we forget that important dose of reality. Yom Kippur every year is supposed to remind us of that dose of reality, right? We're supposed to fast in a way to remember that we aren't God and we aren't angels, but we are human beings. And even one day without food, 25 hours without imbibing food or drink, can make us feel like the frail mortals that we are. Yes, the whole world was created for us, but in order to truly appreciate that world, we have to, from time to time, appreciate that we are nothing in the face of that world, that we can't even enter the tabernacle, we can't even enter the home we built if it feels unsafe because of how tenuous our bodies are. And there's a prayer we're going to say tomorrow morning that speaks about that. It's called the Shariat Tsar, and it talks about the fact that humans are created in this finely balanced system. And we're told that we've got these openings and these closings. And if one of the openings were to close or one of the closings were to open, there's no way that we could live. There's no way we could stand before God. We are frail. We are fallible. We are human. We can't enter the tabernacle whenever we want. And this week has truly made me feel that. There are some weeks where I believe that the world was created for me. But when we're looking outside, and what can only amount to one of the three most dangerous things that our tradition talks about. They talk about war, they talk about famine, and they talk about plague. And we are facing plague, and the economic challenge of this makes me fear the famine piece as well. Faced with these dangers around us, we cannot help but think about the frailty of humanity that we are. Every day while we are facing COVID-19 is itself Yom Kippur. Every day we are outside of this tabernacle knowing that should we enter into it, danger might be around the corner. That God's presence so dwells that we would be burned. And we feel that every time that we need to go to the grocery store, and we feel that every time we step out into the street and someone gets too close to us, or we feel it every time if we're an essential worker, that we have to go into the hospital to take care of people, or get into an ambulance and rush off to an emergency. And so I want to invite us to do exactly what we do on Yom Kippur, to allow ourselves to feel that frailty, to not fight it, to not be angry about it, but to let it sink in. There are times in our lives where we can't help but face it. We know we are not immortal, and it scares the heck out of us. None of us wants to die. But the truth is, there's danger everywhere. And one of the things that we can do when we greet that danger is that we can own it. And when we do, we might actually be able to use it for the better. You see, one of the ways that we can truly take advantage of the wondrous life that we have is to understand just how finite it is. It's the reason that on Yizkor we light a candle, because a flame is finite. The flames behind me are finite. They flicker and they waver, and the smallest puff can make them disappear. And there is nothing like a plague to remind us exactly how fleeting life actually is. And so what I want you to do is that none of us asked for this, but every one of us can utilize this. Because even amongst our fear, even amongst our uncertainty, even as we're trying to find steady ground for ourselves, we can lean into that feeling of frailty. And we can begin to ask ourselves, what perspective can we gain on life by knowing that life is fleeting? How can we better understand what our true hopes are? What perspectives can we gain about our goals? How can we, in the midst of this, find a path that is one of true meaning for our lives? There's a time to really, truly be held when we are scared. And every single one of us needs to feel that way and hold other people too. But we're standing outside of the tabernacle. We're afraid to enter in because there is true beauty inside, but we know it is dangerous. But eventually, God's presence does lift off the tabernacle, and it's safe to go in. Eventually, this plague will end, and it will be safe to leave our homes. It will be safe to go back to work. It will be safe to ride the train. It will be safe to converse with friends. And when we do, we're standing in a world as beautiful as this tabernacle that we've built. The question is, when we do that, what perspective do we have? And what fresh eyes do we use as we have been stuck, waiting outside to enter? Shabbat Shalom. We're going to turn together to page 282 for Elenu, or page 300 in your PDF packets.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. מה אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לבני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 287.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We turn together to page 294 or page 312 in your PDF. I'm going to read names of those who we are observing yard site for. And as I read each name, I'll invite you, if you want, to stand up even though others can't see you, so that you can still pay honor to those names that I am reading. So this week, we remember the following people with one name added for someone that we forgot last week: Rudolph Adler, Branch Bedrin, Leon Blumoff, Leah Busin, Irma Klayman, Manus Cohen, Isidore Krasnopel, George Dinnerstein, David Dobrin, Bell Ehrlich, Fred Friend, Louis Gash, Marie Gottesman, Edward Green, Gladys Green, Samuel Greenfield, Joseph Gross, Blanca Gross-Minova, Madeline Gutterman, Solomon Haas, William Heimowitz, Abraham Hendler, Irving Hertzberg, Paul Hilowitz, Benjamin Samuel Herwood, Samuel Kaiserman, Sanford Kessler, Bernice Kramer, Saul Crone, Richard Lasday, Bess Leopold, Tess Malloy, Maxine Martin, Elias Olivius Melendez, Rose Minsky, Irving Portnoff, Morton Raymond, Thomas Sadler, Ruth Saperstein, Herbert Schreiber, Lillian Schumann, Sarah Seidel, Myron Selter, Joan Shapiro, Lena Slater, Philip Stein, Adrian Clem Taylor, Ernest Toch, Alice Wiener, Mary Weissman, Renee Zeisel, and Edward Zuckerman. And for those who are in their Shloshim and Shiva periods of mourning, Renee Jacobson, mother of Beth Adelman, Anita Cassell, wife of Jack Cassell, mother of Morgan and Courtney Cassell, Rabbi Robert Rosenberg, son of Rabbi Martin Rosenberg, brother of Karen Rosenberg Berman, Harvey Morgenstein, father of Karen Hogg, David and Mark Morgenstern, Ronaldo Leon, father of Maribel Leon, and Eleanor Adler, grandmother of Mark Ben-Ami. And although not customary to formally read their name since the burial will take place on Sunday, I announce the death of Harold Sterling, father of Brian Sterling. And though their burial will be private, they will be having a virtual Shiva at some point on Sunday. And I'm waiting for the details and the Zoom link, which we will send out to everybody. In addition, I'll pause for a moment. And if you have a name to add to this yard site list or a name of someone that you're mourning within your 1 year period of mourning, I'll invite you to say their name now, and then I'll move into Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad yivrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayachon v'yom echon v'chayeh d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agalah uv'yizman karib v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lomei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu, le'olam yinkol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechamata, Dalmiram b'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shalom Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Please be seated. So a few announcements. I can't go through everything in the week, but you'll see that we sent out a very detailed email with the hopes that those who are homebound, who really need to see the outside world, especially if you're living alone, have 2 touch points at least each day of learning and programs, and also a few ritual touch points as well. So just quickly, the schedule: tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., we have our Wake Up Shabbat for Tots, plus a lay-led Torah study led by Rick Abrams. At 10 o'clock, we have our service. And then moving forward at 7:30 that night, a community Havdalah service. On Sunday, we have our first day of religious school, followed by at 3 o'clock, a really wonderful healing service that Perry Smilo is going to put together. There's a number of other things throughout the week. I'm going to invite you to look and really pay close attention and look for those in the email. But the one plug that I want to give is that if you feel safe, we really need your help. We are still in need of feeding people. And just because we are quarantined doesn't mean that those who don't have enough food on their plates shouldn't get enough to eat. So we've taken huge precautions in our feeding program, and we're going to have people make food off site and bring it. But we need a few people on Sunday to package that food up into to-go bags, that those who are hungry and in need of a meal that we usually feed at our soup kitchen, Bloomfield Cafe, can take these lunches to go. And so we're going to make sure you're away from one another. We're going to make sure you're wearing gloves, but we really need people. And so if you could email me, rabbi@nertamid.org, I'll connect you with Sharon Mandel, or you can reach directly out to her. And we need about 2 or 3 more people to take the food that people are making and to help to package them. And so please, if you feel safe, if you're younger, if you're healthier, please consider doing this, and we will take your safety into account as we do. So we're going to close today, Cantor, with?
We're going to close with the melody we've been chanting all week at our Shema Unwind most of the week. And I'm going to invite Leora back into view. She's been here praying with us. Biyado av kidruchi be'etishan ve'avira ve'imruchi giviati Adonai li velo ira. With you, God, holding me, holding my soul, no matter how temporary the vessel, I have nothing to fear.
Biyado av kidruchi be'etishan ve'ira me'im ruchi gaviati Adonai li velo ira me'im ruchi gaviati Adonai li velo ira my soul I give to you, my spirit I shall not fear. Hold me in your hands. Draw me near. I shall not fear. Safely in your care.
Once again, Shabbat Shalom. And if you need anything over this next week, please be in touch with us. And most importantly, reach out to someone in the community, even if you don't know them so well, and check on them, especially if they're living alone. Your call could make their day. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. See you in the morning.